So, okay. All right, let's say a prayer and then we'll figure out where we are and what we're doing. Lord, we turn to our hearts to you in thanks that we might this night come to study your word and be a part of your kingdom, and that in so doing we find ourselves in the way in which you would order us rather than the way in which we are ordered, that we might know your peace that comes through all that you would bestow upon us and all the good gifts that you have for us, and that we might find them in your word this night. Lord, we pray this in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Okay, we are at verse 11. So we are at the conversion of Lydia.
What chapter?
So chapter 16, Acts 16, 11. We're going to start there.
From Troas.
Troy.
Yeah.
Is that how you say it, Troas, or is it?
Well,
Troas,
that's,
yeah.
It's Troy.
Mine says Troas.
Well, it is. That's the
Yeah.
like the Greek word
Greek.
for it.
Greek, Latin,
Yeah.
yeah. Potato, potatoes.
I'm just
Yeah.
thinking about
So,
Brad Pitt.
yeah. So setting sail from Troas, we made a direct voyage to Samothrace and following day to Neapolis, and from there to Philippi, which is a leading city of the district of Macedonia and a Roman colony. So they find themselves in Philippi. So they go from Troy to Philippi. So there's a lot of Philippis, but this is actually a big deal of a Philippi because it is named for Philip. So Philip was the father of Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great and Philip come from Macedonia. So this is Philip's home turf, who was the conqueror of much of Greece. So the Macedonians are, they really are the kind of the mob family of the Greco-Roman world. They have a meanness in them which is just unheard of. They're incredibly, a good time at a Macedonian party is getting just as drunk as you can possibly get until you fall over, and then getting in fistfights until you're bludgeoned, and then getting up in the morning and sobering up and doing it again. Like, this is the Macedonians. They're like a organized crime biker gang. You read the stories of Alexander growing up in Philip's court, but they are incredibly vicious on the battlefield. They conquer a whole part of the world. Alexander obviously will go on, as Alexander the Great went on to conquer most of known civilization.
As far as India.
Went as far as India, exactly. So right, exactly. There are blonde people today in Afghanistan because of Alexander the Great. That they literally went the full length of nearly the full length of the continent. So when Paul gets the call to go to Macedonia, like, it's not where you would pick. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like even going to, he's a Roman citizen, at least go to Rome. Like, Rome didn't treat him particularly well either, but like, at least, but the call to go to, it's clear, like, what becomes clear is that this is unfriendly territory. And it's not only, you have Olympia, who is Philip's wife, who was a straight up, like, everything we would call a witch. She was a straight up witch. She was casting spells, doing all kinds of stuff, which was not that rare in this time of the world, but she was, a force to be reckoned with in her own right.
Is
Like,
that prevalent now?
what's that?
Is that like a real thing, witches and spells?
Sure. Yeah. People cast spells on us all the time.
Yeah, I didn't even.
Yeah.
Hey.
I-
I have one of my clients who
Who's
is
a witch?
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Really a
It's the single fastest. It's like the fastest growing. Like, yeah.
Ugh. I
Yeah.
didn't even think that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Yeah, I mean, this is the thing about the age in which we live, is and why I think Acts, and it's really kind of timely to be reading Acts, because Acts is the Christian story, the first 35 years of the Christian story, in the midst of the pagan world before Christianity, becomes dominant in any way. So it's confronting a pagan world, and we, in a lot of ways, are kind of finding our way in which we're confronted. We're in. I don't like the idea that we're in this, the way that it's framed in terms. A lot of people will say we're in a post-Christian world, but we really are more in a pagan world. We're not. It's not post-Christian. Christianity is doing just fine. It's still here, but there are in which the old gods have found new faces, and they are being worshipped, and there are new. We are.
Because actors talk about it all the time.
Who?
Actors.
Oh yeah. I mean, there's
Scientology.
Scientology. There's Satanism. Go watch any videos, and go watch any music videos these days, and see what there's.
I just didn't think witches, like casting spells, just seems like so. I don't know, like make believe, but I guess that's not.
Oh no. If we're dealing with a world of spirits, if we're dealing with a world in which there are things that move beyond us, then we can engage those things, and those things do get engaged. I mean, actually, we'll probably, hopefully, if we get more than two verses, we're going to talk about those tonight.
All right, I'm setting up.
No, so they find themselves. So Philippi is now. But Philippi is. So it's at the edge of the Roman Empire to some degree. So, I mean, and so what happens in terms of these towns that are at the edge of the Roman Empire is that what you get when you retire from the Roman army is you get Roman citizenship, and you get a plot of land, and you get a little bit of money. And so the plot of land is always at the edge of the empire. So the idea is, who do you take? You take your veteran warriors, who are really kind of true believers in the empire, and you put those at the edges of the empire, and then you give them land, so now they're invested in that place. And if you know anything about veterans like to be with veterans. Like, that's just because they're people who speak their language. Their camaraderie, right? Exactly. Oh, you were in the 10th Legion, I was in the 9th Legion. Blah blah blah. They had the VFW there too. Like that. So Philippi is a Roman army retiree town, and so not only do they end up in Macedonia, surrounded by a bunch of crazy Greeks, but now they're surrounded by a bunch of crazy Greeks who are being kind of inhabited and pacified by all these retired Roman soldiers. So it's like, this is a really nasty place to be.
They're safer among the Roman soldiers than there. I can imagine.
Well, back and forth, yeah. So, and certainly for Paul and Cyrus.
He was a citizen too.
Well, Paul and Cyrus are both citizens. So yeah. So right, So they've got right. So they've got. So they've at least got. They've got cachet in that world. So we remained in the cities for some days. On the Sabbath day, we went outside the gate to the riverside. Where we supposed there was a place of prayer, and we sat down and spoke to the women who had come together. So what Paul's been doing, if you remember, he's been going he goes into town. He says, "Hey, where's the synagogue?" They say, "Oh, it's down on Oak Street." So they'd go down, and he would start by preaching at the synagogue, saying, "Hey, the Messiah has come, everybody! Good news!" And he was a Pharisee, so he should know. So he would always start, and often we talked about our friend the God-fearers, right? The God-fearers, well, they'd be around the synagogue too. So you kind of get a twofer. You're preaching to the Jews who are looking for the Messiah, and you're preaching to these God-fearers who are sympathetic to the cause. And so it was the place that Paul always started. So he shows up in Philippi and he says, "Hey, where's the synagogue?" There's no synagogue. It's like, well, do you have any Jews? Gosh, I haven't seen any in the city. I think I hear some of them gather outside down by the river to pray every once in a while. Like, okay, like he's now, now he's really in Indian country. You know what I mean? Like he is really he's used to going to like places where there's a synagogue, and then there's some God-fearers, or that may not be, that are pagans but are friendly to the cause. There aren't any of these people here.
It's outside the box.
They're just going, right, the community is gathering outside the city so that they don't get jammed up by the authorities. So they're going down to the river and kind of like, okay, we'll say some prayers down here. So you're seeing how different this is for Paul, like in terms of what he's used to, the way he's used to operating. So we went to the place of prayer, and we sat down and we spoke to the women who had come together. One who heard us was a woman named Lydia from the city of Thyatira, a seller of purple goods, who was a worshiper of God. So purple was extremely rare dye. And so it says purple goods, but really it's the dye that matters, because you can get the goods.
She made money because
She's right. It means she's very exactly. So so purple was kind of the color of authority. So if you were a mayor or a Indian chief of some kind, you'd have a purple robe, you'd have purple. But it was extremely hard to get because it was basically made from ground up seashells. If you ever looked in like a little whelk, there's that purple, that little purple. Well, that's what they would take. They would grind that up. They would boil that all down, and they would extract that purple. I mean, you see how much little is in each one. So it's super labor intensive. So it's super expensive. And so she was a dealer in purple. So already she's kind of a one-off. So she's a businesswoman. You don't see a lot of businesswomen, but she's also a high-end businesswoman. Like she has money, and she's a worshiper of God.
I have here that she is remembered as the first convert of Christianity in Philippi.
Yes. Yeah. So the Lord opened her heart to pay attention to what was said by Paul. So again, remember, like just as a note, we talked about it last week about, like in the Jesus' birth story, like the people in Jesus' birth story are almost just like dolls to God's action. That God and the angels are the ones that are doing all the things. The angels show up to the shepherds, says, "Go over here." Like nobody's, everybody, the wise men, are given in a dream to go back home by a different route. Like everything is being operated and worked by God and by the Holy Spirit. And so that was the birth story of Jesus. Now this is the birth story of the church, is what we've got really here. And so in this birth story, it's the same thing. God's the actor. The people are just like either listening or not. And when they don't, they kind of, they get full of worms and die. Or they, when they appropriate that authority, bad things happen to them. Like when Herod, said, "Oh yeah, it sounds like a God's talking." Well, yes, it is. And then worms ate him. Like, if you were, so again, what we see in the early church is this: God is the actor. And again, we see, the Lord opened her heart to pay attention to what was said by Paul. Like yes, Lydia was the first convert, but because God said, "Hey, Lydia, over here, look at that." Like, he was like, God is acting on her heart.
But here's another example that you've pointed out before, the role of women.
Yeah.
Here's another woman
Absolutely.
who's the first convert, and she's a woman of
means. Yep.
and
So
some status.
Status. Yep. Which is
Interesting in this place of such kind of strangeness.
Right.
That's not the right word.
No, that's a good word. That's a good word. Yeah.
He chooses a woman.
Yeah. And so Macedonia is a little more egalitarian too. So the Hebrew world is much more, but they're like, it's kind of a little more pagan in that way. Like, if you can brawl with the boys, you can hang with the boys, sort of thing. Like if you like, it's not that it's not as stratified as the Roman world.
And she's successful too. So
and so right, she's successful with money. Like she's this is again, but to like Paul, how strange is this? It's like like in the Roman world, this is not how things work. And after she was baptized, and her household as well, she urged us, saying, If you have judged me to be faithful to the Lord, come to my house and stay. And so Paul now has a headquarters. And so Lydia, again, remember who was the when they were back in at the very beginning? Do you remember who the headquarters was? Where the headquarters was? The mother of John Mark. That was. The name is always Mary. If you have to guess, it's always Mary. But yeah, it was Mary. Mary was John was Mark's mother. And Mary is the one who, remember Peter when he gets out of jail, where does he go? He goes to Mary's house because that's where the church was. So again and again and again you have, and even all the way back to the resurrection, you've got, John 20, who is the first apostle to the apostles? The other Mary, another one of the Marys, who says, I have seen my Lord. It's like she's the one that runs to the apostles. And, Jesus reveals himself first in the resurrection to Mary. Who becomes the first household of the church, of the first hiding place of the church, first headquarters? Mary's house.
That's Lazarus' sister, right? Mary.
Yes. Yeah. And then I don't know if it's
the
that.
Marys get confusing.
I don't know. Oh yeah, well there's the 7 of them. So it's and then
Seven Marys.
right, the 7 Marys, yeah. And then you have so now here are the strange land, and who is it? Lydia, a woman, another woman becomes the headquarters of the church. And again, we talked about it last week, and part of that is what it means to actually be a fully known, a fully seen, and a fully accepted creature of God, which doesn't exist in these other cultures. Women and slaves are not considered fully human people. They're not considered fully human. Like they're considered subspecies of humans. And that's Aristotle. Okay, that's not somebody. That was Aristotle that said that. So but here you have Christ coming along saying, no, all children of God, sons and daughters of God. Being very clear about that. So. And it's not just a notional thing. It's not just it is literally playing itself out. Like it is. That's how the church is operating. So if you note too that it says she was baptized and her household as well.
Yeah.
And this is what you find is that this is what you get is you either get individuals that become baptized, and basically end up leaving their family. They leave everything they know in order to follow Jesus because there was no such thing as kind of an individual choice. Like that wasn't really a thing yet. We got about 1,600 years before we get to 1,400 years before we get to individual choice. That is the thing that comes along with the Enlightenment. Like that's the thing that comes along with the whole I think therefore I am idea, like that individuals ideas really matter. It's really much more about a tribal idea. Like, okay, who is your household? Who are you with? And so it's either households come over and are converted, or individuals come over and they end up leaving their families to do so. You almost never see even before you saw a Hebrew woman married to a pagan, but you almost never see, it works out every once in a while, but it's only kind of on its way to one thing or the other. You know
It's
what I
one
mean?
of the things that made the original 12 so special, because they did that.
Right, exactly. Yep. Yeah.
Well, it's interesting, because I was just gonna say, isn't it interesting that here it says Lydia and her household? So is it because she's a woman that she wouldn't leave her household?
Well, that she has authority over her household.
Right.
So yeah, so in the ancient world is very boundaried in terms of the pater familias and mater familias. So you have the everything that happened. So most everything was happened within a walled compound, and everything that happened, all the decisions that were made within the walled compound was the purview of the wife. So she controlled everything in the household. She ran the slaves. She ran the household. She probably ran the finances for the household. She ran everything. Outside, every decision that had to do with outside of those walls, that was the pater familias's job. Like he ran everything outside the home, and the Roman world was really stratified around. I mean, you see it. I mean, you can see it. You can go to rural parts of Italy today, and you can still see that at work. Like men and women almost never talk to each other, and almost never come together. Like, you know, the women almost immediately at the beginning of the day, and even in Italy today, you can go. The women go down to the fountain and they start doing laundry, or they go to the garden and they start tending the garden. And their women are always with women, and the men are usually at the cafe eating, smoking cigarettes and drinking coffee, or they're at work if they're younger, or they're whatever. But the worlds are incredibly stratified. I mean, one of the crazy things about the West is that we think we should live together as genders and and this should actually work. Like, it's really like, I mean, they came together. Like the overlap of the Venn diagram in that world was very small. They really didn't, and you can, and I say the vestiges of that, you can still go to rural parts of and see it at work.
But the pater was the ultimate authority.
The pater, well, because of the fact that but he would really never he would have authority, but only because he's kind of because everything that happens outside the home is also kind of encompasses the home. The home is within the realm of the wider world. But he would rarely run over. Like, they wouldn't necessarily, because of the fact that he had to live in that house. And literally, and I don't mean that as a threat. He had to live in that house. And there's this way in which that authority was. You really do see, really powerful women in Rome, because of the fact that they run massive households, so the pater definitely is the end authority, but it's not without
a challenge. It
real. It was never to his advantage. It was never to the pater's advantage.
He's gonna be nice.
Yeah, and right, and if he wants it to work, you know what I mean? Like, if he wants to, it's not even a matter of being nice. It's just a matter of the proper order. Like, that's what was expected. It was not, he wouldn't go down to the fountain and start. It would be, a social faux pas to kind of,
right.
You know what I mean? Like, it would be not socially acceptable.
In the end, you don't piss off Daddy.
Yeah, no, that's true. No, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
Do not piss off the old man. Wife either.
Yep. I mean, it's true, but it's not. It's just, I'm just trying to make the point that there's not. So anyway, the whole point of that is.
Big women have some kind of authority over them.
Right. The whole point. Right, and the whole point of that is Lydia and her household is saying she runs the household.
Right.
So that's Daddy never. We don't know if there's a daddy. We don't know who the patriarchal figure is in Lydia's world. We never find that out, or if there even is one, because the Macedonians are a little different. But what we do know, that idea of her being in charge of a household is a real she has control over that, and really
She's
that
powerful.
Right, exactly. It says and that. That it's, and this isn't really, there's not an implication this is done at the end of a sword, or at the end of a threat, hey, if you don't become Christian, you can't work here anymore. It's not that. If you don't become a follower of Jesus, you can't, it's not that. It's really speaking more to the fact that it's the movement of the Spirit, that where she is bent to, invite Paul into the home, that actually is a thing that everybody agrees on. It's the implication is, and I don't know the Greek well. I haven't looked at the Greek well enough, but I know from what the commentaries I've read on it, the idea is really, it's not that she's kind of, hey, okay, all right, today we're all followers of Jesus. She's not ordering this. It is really about the movement of the Spirit, which started with her and spread to her household. Is that?
In many ways, maybe because they respected everybody in the household.
Yeah.
At first, she must have been a really great, nice, decent person. They all respected and loved.
Right.
And as that's the source of her authority. It seems.
And,
that's what-
yeah. And the implication too is they're all having their own experience of the movement of the Spirit.
Yeah.
What the commentaries tell me is that's the implication. Is it's not just she's having this experience and then she's kind of,
Right.
she's telling her household what to do. It's like they're all being led along by Jesus or by Paul through preaching. So, okay. What else? What is it? Boy, it's so much better when I can read my own handwriting.
Next page is
okay.
slave girl.
So yeah, so we're headed. So Paul and Silas. So now they start doing what they do. So as they were going from out of the place of prayer, we met a slave girl who had a spirit of divination, possessed by a demon, and brought her owners much gain by fortune telling. She followed Paul and us. Remember us. So Luke's there. So remembering that Luke is there. And these men are servants of the Most High God who proclaim to you the way of salvation. Now, part of this is what tells you how different Macedonia is. In the Hebrew world, if we were back in Jerusalem, this would be a bad thing. There's this woman who has the spirit, and the Pharisees, the Sadducees, everybody would want to cast the spirit out because it's not good. Cool. The rest of the pagan world and the hardcore pagan world, this is a good thing. Like, she's a moneymaker. This to have a demon, it's written right in Plato. Plato says, I have a demon that tells me things. Now we read that and we're like, yeah, maybe we shouldn't listen to Plato. But by the way, Plato, the single greatest philosopher impacting Christianity, hands down, is the Platonic ideas. They play a role in kind of how early Christianity gets formed and kind of the theology and philosophy behind it. But he was straight up but we read that, but the ancients would read that and they'd say yeah, of course he does, because he has a genius. And which is what, when you talk about Caesar Augustus was considered the son of God. And the reason he was considered son of God is because he had a genius. You weren't a genius. Now we say, oh, Wayne, you're a genius. Then they said, you have a genius. Like you have a genie, like you have a jinn, like you have a spirit with you that tells you things. And so to have a spirit with you that tells you things was actually often considered a good thing. Now, it necessarily wasn't a good thing for the person it was happening to, but it was, or sometimes it may have been, but it was really this idea of either inhabitation or even possession sometimes.
I think of oracles, right?
Exactly.
The Oracle of Delphi.
100%.
Oracles.
That's exactly the Oracle of Delphi is the quintessential example of that. Is that so? The Oracle of Delphi, they were young girls, usually virgins, usually maybe prepubescent or on that, young teen girls who they would basically hep up full of hallucinogens and get them crazy tripping, and they would basically kind of live their life that way and become occupied by spirits. And that when people would go there and they would ask them questions, and they're like, they would ask them questions, and that was became oracles because of the fact that they were in contact with the spirit world because they were inhabited by spirits.
Vestal Virgins of Rome too, same stuff.
Right, yeah. So you have Vestal Virgins in Rome. You have again and again and again. You find it all over. But again, Macedonia is a little more, and so literally this is a profit center.
So now they're going to cast out this demon, and nobody wants them to.
Right. So she followed Paul and us, crying out, "These men are servants of the Most High God who proclaim to you the way of salvation." So now, why is she doing that?
She's taunting them, maybe?
Well, what happens in the Gospels when Jesus encounters a demon?
He gets rid of it.
Right? But what happens before that?
With Jesus before.
When Jesus encounters a demon, what happens?
The demons are scared of him.
The demons are scared of him. The demons recognize him.
Right.
They recognize, oh, this is the Son of God. We're in trouble.
So that's
And-
why she's saying it?
And yes, because they're compelled to say so.
Oh.
There's this yeah. So, and it's kind of like when I say compelled, it's like if there was a Tomahawk missile over the horizon and you saw it coming at the building, what would you say? It's a missile! Like, run for it! It's a missile! And every time you saw it, and maybe it was loitering out there, and every came back around and you saw it again, what would you say? It's a missile! It's coming to blow us up! Like, you would say that and that's what's happening. It's like she sees this incredible threat to, like, this spirit sees this incredible threat to its existence and its inhabitation in this world, to being thrown back into hell, to be all that sort of stuff. And it's like, so they're compelled every time they see someone with the Holy Spirit, and you see, Jesus or Paul or Peter, like, they're compelled to say, look, it's the missile is coming to get us, like, this thing is going to come kill us. And so that's kind of the why of that. And this she kept doing many days. And Paul, having become greatly annoyed, turned and said to the spirit, I command you in the name of Jesus Christ to come out of her. And it came out that very hour.
Is she being a leech?
What's
She's
that?
being a leech. She's being a leech, making money off of.
Well, she was being pimped out.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, she's not making money on it. This is the thing, that she has handlers, and they're basically working her. So I mean, this is
when the owners of the slave girl realized that hope making money was gone.
right.
Sees Paul.
Yeah. So right. So it's what happens if the girl in the corner doesn't want to turn tricks anymore. You know what I mean, that's what this is. Like, this is straight up prostitution on a kind of, this is spiritual prostitution. They're working. She's a working girl. And so again, what does Jesus do? Free the slaves. Slaves isn't necessarily, it's, those who are just enslaved to, who are chained to the floor, in chains. They're whatever enslaves someone, whether it is addiction, whether it is an evil spirit, whether it is whatever is possessing some, whatever is captive, whatever is impinging that person's freedom to follow Christ. Yeah. That's what Yeah. When you hear that, I have come to free the oppressed, I have come to free the slaves. That's a broad category. That's not just the fact that's not just
The Hebrews out of Egypt.
Yes, exactly. Or just the person who happens to be arrested on the side of the road, who's being, it's like, it is all, and really though, and what that really comes to mean is, it applies to all of us, because we all have things.
We all have demons.
We all have things that we're oppressed by. You know what I mean? We all have things that, even if it's just, those freaking things, staring at me like that, I just want to crush right now. Like, we all have things that are like,
Right.
that are impinging upon the way in which we would otherwise be, or we would choose to be,
It's a threat. It's a threat to you. It's a threat to us.
Right. Yeah. I mean, and it's right, and it's right, and that's part of it, right? It's God's grace for us. But when the owners saw that their hope of gain was gone, they seized Paul and Silas and dragged them out into the marketplace before the rulers. And when they had brought them to the magistrates, they said, "These men are Jews, and they are disturbing our city." So now this is the 50s now we're in. And so things aren't going great for the Roman Empire. There's been a bunch of famines. They've lost a bunch of military victories. It's not good days. And so so if things aren't going well for you, what are you looking for?
Somebody to blame.
Somebody to blame. That's right. And so the Jews throughout the empire, so things were not going well for the Jews because things were not going well for Rome. Because the thing about the pagan world is that, there was kind of a contract with the gods. It's this reciprocal relationship. We make the sacrifices the right way, and everybody makes the sacrifices as a nation, and then you give us the things that we need. You give us the rain. You give us the military victories. You give us the stuff we need. So if the things aren't going the way they're supposed to be going, the first default is not everybody is doing the things that they need to do. And who are the everybody's that isn't doing the things that they're supposed to do? The Jews, right? Because they don't play with the other gods, and so they become a natural place for the Romans to look to say, like, look, the gods are not giving us rain. we all did the sacrifices. What about you? Like, you're not doing the sacrifices, you know? So they're looking hard. So there's already this thing. So this is not these magistrates are throwing a match into a tinderbox. Like, it's already an environment of real acrimony against the Jews. So for him to say they're stirring up trouble, it's like, well, of course they are, because that's what we've come to expect. That
Anti-Semitism.
And so they
Beat the crap out of them.
right. So
Right.
they advocate customs. So they go on to say they advocate customs that are not lawful for us as Romans to accept or practice, and that's the whole thing. Is they're not giving the sacrifices the way we said they should. So the crowd joined in attacking them, and the magistrate tore the garments off them and gave them orders to be beaten with rods. By the way, these are iron rods, so they're beaten with iron rods. Let's consider that. Like, I mean, think about a 3-foot piece of rebar. That's what they're being beaten with. So that's and when they had inflicted many blows upon them, they threw them into prison, ordering the jailer to keep them safely. So that when they say keep them safely, that means lock them down, and he put them into the inner prison. So there's the wider prison with like a courtyard. There's prison cells, and then there's one room, kind of one or two rooms on the inside of the prison that are the most secure place. So he puts them on the inside, and they put them in stocks and fasten their feet in the stocks. So, and often put in the stocks meant both feet and arms. So and sometimes it was face down, and there were no breaks. There were no bathroom breaks. There was no food breaks. There was no. I have an itch break. There was no keep the rats off of me, keep the bugs off of me. I mean, and they're in the inner prison, so they're the most dank, the most, movies make it look a lot more hospitable than it actually was in the Roman world. But when you went to a Roman prison, there was no, not to be gratuitous, but this is seriously harsh. And so, and notice everybody's participating. The crowd participates. The magistrates participate. Like, everybody gets in on the act. It's not just like the cops roughed me up. No, this is the whole town has just turned against Paul and Silas. And so about midnight, Paul and Silas were praying and singing hymns to God, and the prisoners were listening to them. So this doesn't happen in Roman prisons. People don't sit around singing hymns. This does not. I mean, I just described to you what happened to them. They just got beaten with iron rods. They have this whole city that's just been that is just frothing to kill them. They're only basically alive because they're bolted to the floor. Like, quite literally, they're not given breaks for food or anything else. Like, they're all the things. They're sitting in their own, poo. Like, all of that is happening right now. And what is their response? They are praying and singing hymns to God, and the prisoners are listening to them. I'm sure they are. Like, what the heck is going on with these guys?
Faith and trust.
And suddenly there is this great earthquake, so that the foundations of the prison were shaken. And immediately all the doors were opened, and everyone's bond was unfastened. When the jailer woke and saw that the prison doors were open, he drew his sword and was about to kill himself, supposing that the prisoners had escaped. So why did he do that?
Because he was afraid he was going to get tortured, and because he thought they escaped.
Exactly.
So he'd rather kill himself than.
Exactly. Remember, the Roman way of operating things is it's you did a bad job. Okay, we'll just get another person to do your job, and you'll die some horrible, gruesome way. And he's like, I'm just going to kill myself because this will be what's awaiting is going to be a lot more painful than. And all of a sudden, but Paul cries out with a loud voice, Don't harm yourself, for we are all here. So they stick around so that the jailer doesn't get in trouble. How nice of a person do you have to be? And you not only do that, but you convince all the other prisoners. Not one of the other prisoners makes a break for it. That the movement of the Spirit is happening in this place, that they stay so that to be able to witness to God, of God's love to the jailer, having been beaten, having been chained to the floor. You really just want to go get cleaned up and have a sandwich. There's a whole lot more going on there. But how crazy this is. And so the jailer called for lights and rushed in, and trembling with fear, he fell down before Paul and Silas, and then brought them out and said, "Sirs, what must I do to be saved?" Now, we hear that, and we've been kind of infected by good 400 years worth of Protestantism. And, we're like, what must I do to have my eternal, soul turned into... That's not the question he's asking. He's asking, how do I not get killed by the Romans right now? How do I not die? This is an immediate question for him. This is, how do I not die tonight? He's talking, this is, a lot of preachers will make some existential kind of idea about this in terms of, it was existential, all right. I want to exist until breakfast. That's what he's because, but he clearly realizes, Paul and Silas didn't run off. None of the other prisoners ran off. He realizes he's not in charge of this anymore. And so he's something's at work. So how do we all get out of this with our heads? How do we all get out of this alive? And they said, "Believe in the Lord Jesus and you will be saved, and you and your household." So Paul answers him with this again, and the thing is this kind of mirrors. It really mirrors the entire gospel and the coming of the Messiah in a way. So you have this is like a little tiny microcosm of what Christianity really brings to the world. You have the Jews are looking for a Messiah. The Messiah is a military hero who is going to come conquer the Romans, throw them out of the Holy Land, reestablish the throne of David, and this incredible all the splendors of the kingdom of Solomon. That's what the Messiah is supposed to do. So it's this very corporeal, physical kingdom of the world. Jesus comes and declares, "I am the Messiah," overcoming the spiritual realities of death and the disconnection from God, and that is a kingdom much greater than simply a couple thousand square miles in the middle of in the Negev desert. It's a way bigger thing that the Messiah actually brings into being. And so you see this again. The jailer's saying, "What must I do to be saved?" Who's the Messiah? How do I find a military person to come along and save me from getting my head chopped off in the morning? He's looking at a very real, and he's asking the same questions that kind of the Jews were asking when they were looking for. So it's the same question. And then all of a sudden, what happens? What does Paul answer? He says, "That's great. That's great." But the answer is actually to believe in Jesus Christ. That Jesus Christ has this. And so he gets this. He kind of gets the same answer that the church does in a way. And so they spoke the word of the Lord to him and all who were in his house. So, and house means jail. That, by the way, they're preaching to the other jailers. It's not like Polly and the kids at home. That's not what he's talking. They're talking about his house is what he has authority over, which is the jail. And he took them to the same hour of the night and washed their wounds, and he was baptized at once, he and all of his family. And then he brought them up into his house and set food before them. And so now it's extending to his family. So there's the jail, and then it goes to Then he takes them home. Now he's going to Polly and the kids. And he rejoiced along with his entire household that he had believed in God. So, but when it was day, so he has just, so the jailer has just put all of his chips on 34 black. Like he's just gone all in on Jesus. He's just said, but he has good reason. There's this earthquake, and they all of a sudden everybody's free. They don't run away. They actually minister and stay and take care of him. And so what does he do? He sees in that the compassion of Christ, and he responds to it, and he says, okay, I see that, and I'm in with it too. And so, and now come the magistrates. But when it was day, the magistrates sent the police saying, let those men go. It's like, all right, they've had enough. Like, we don't want to stir anything more up. Like, let's just let him go. And the jailer reported these words to Paul, saying, the magistrates have sent to let you go. Therefore, come out now and go in peace. However, Paul and Silas have an ace up their sleeve that they hadn't played yet. But Paul said to them, they have beaten us publicly, uncondemned, men who are Roman citizens, and have thrown us into prison. And do they now throw us out secretly? So the thing about being a Roman citizen is you could be arrested, but you had to be tried by a tribunal, and you had a right to an appeal. So they arrested them, they beat him, and they threw him in jail. The beating and the throwing in jail should not have happened without a tribunal and a right of repeal. But nobody ever mentioned they were Roman citizens. And so they were being treated as these Hebrew Jews, and then all of a sudden they discover that
people.
Yeah, and so now the magistrates are in trouble because abusing a Roman citizen, so a Roman citizen could walk anywhere at the height of the empire. A Roman citizen could walk anywhere within the empire unescorted and unmolested. Because what everybody knew is that if something happened to a Roman citizen, if they were killed, robbed, and somewhere on a road, within 28 days, anywhere in the empire, there would be a legion of legionnaires, of Roman soldiers standing on that spot looking for the person that did it. And the Romans were, vicious about this. And everybody knew it. That if you messed with a Roman citizen, you were it was a death sentence, because there was going to be an entire legion that was going to come, and the legions weren't like Columbo. They weren't particularly interested in, God, I'm so old. They weren't looking for who done it. They're just going to take the nearest town and level it. They're just going to kill everybody nearby and say, oh, by the way, next time you see a Roman citizen, keep them safe. They're just going to mete out some sort of horrific kind of punishment to that area as a way of making the point that nothing bad happens to Romans. So these magistrates know that they have the potentiality of being in serious trouble, because if Paul and Silas actually ask for a tribunal and an appeal, it's you can get by, okay, well, we are the magistrates, we convicted him, but if they actually ask for an appeal and it goes to the governor or the regional guy, and they say, well, this is what happened, those magistrates, they're going to be in that prison. They'll be lucky if they're in that prison. They're going to go the way of the jailer. All the things that the jailer was expecting to happen to him are now going to happen to the magistrates. So now Paul kind of is holding all the cards. And so let's see, what will he do with them? So you're going to throw us out of prison, and they do not throw us out secretly? No. Let them come themselves and take us out. So the police reported these words back to the magistrates. So what he wants is, he says, you come to the jail and you walk us out of jail. Now, why would he want to do that?
Because you publicly shamed us, now you're going to publicly unshame us.
Right. And who beat them?
The town.
The town, right. Paul wants the town to see, one, that they're Roman citizens, but also that the magistrate, that he's got pull over the magistrates, because he doesn't want to be beaten by he's got some legal angle on the magistrates, but the mob,
Doesn't know.
they don't necessarily. So he needs, like, how are we going to be able to stay in this town and stay safe, or even how are we going to at least get out of town? Like, you know what I mean? Like, he still has to walk out of town. Like, how are we just going to get out of this? You know, it's very like, you know, John Wayne kind of holed up in the jail sort of thing. Like, we still got to get out of town. You know, like, they still have to run the gauntlet of that. So he's like, oh no, you tell the magistrates to get their butts down here, and they can escort us out.
But in a way, that also protects Lydia, the new church, because her connection with him, and now the newfound respect for Paul, who began his church, and what he said and started it all off. It seems like it's giving Lydia more credibility and safety to do her
Right,
own
exactly.
business.
Right, exactly. That's a great point. Like, he's also doing it for the church that's there, for Lydia and for this established household, for the jailer now. Like, the jailer is also now the jailer's gonna go be hanging out with Lydia. Like the church is gonna start to come together in Philippi. And so it's like, yeah, how do I protect my flock? And he's like, okay, I have to show the town that we have some juice. And that and so you're absolutely right. He's giving Lydia, and he's giving the jailer and all these others that are coming to Christ, giving them top cover as well, so that the town doesn't turn against them. That's a really good point.
Spirit, and also, maybe it says how smart a guy Paul was.
Yes, exactly.
Himself.
How really
Really
astute. Exactly. Like, how really sharp he is. Yep. It really is. So the police reported these words. Sorry, did somebody have something?
No.
Okay. And then they were afraid that when they heard that they were Roman citizens, so they came and apologized to them, and they took them out and asked them to leave the city. So they went out of the prison and visited Lydia, and went. So again, you're right. So the magistrates are with them and went and visited Lydia. So that's a really good. I never picked up on that. That's really astute, because it's like he's not just giving top cover to himself; he's giving top cover to the whole church that's in Philippi. So that now Lydia is going to be unharassed. She's not going to be harassed by the. So they went out of the prison because the guys who were making money off of the poor, off the poor possessed girl, they're still out there. They're still ready to lie about what's going on. And so knowing that they're connected, that's a really good point. And when they had just seen the brothers, they encouraged them and departed. So that gets us to
17. We did a whole chapter.
we did a whole chapter.
Awesome.
Yay!
Is this the incident that causes Paul to end up going to Rome? Because he ended up going to Rome because he appeals something that he really didn't need to, but because he did, he goes to Rome. And it's a cause for him to go to Rome the first time. I don't know. I'm just out of curiosity.
I'm not sure.
I have a whole new.
I'm not sure. So we're gonna do 17. So read 17. Yeah.
That's it. That's our homework.
Yeah. So and again, when you're when you're reading it again, look for the thing. Look for how active the Spirit is. That's one of the things I think always to look at when you're reading Acts, is to look at who's really doing this. We say Paul is doing this thing, Silas is doing this thing, Barnabas is doing this thing, but then you're realizing okay, God moves all the pieces out of the way. God gives these people this vision. God gives these people. God calls these people. God prepares this place. God tells them to go here. God tells them to go there. And then
He's a puppet master.
exactly God is creating His church, and it's His church. You know what I mean? It is that to really see who the actor is in this, and I really think it's just a really key, because again, going back to where we started, that the world is looking a little more like the first century, you know, the first 100 years than it is necessarily, you know, this fully Christian world that we find ourselves. And it's like, how can we live our lives in this attentive way of just watching where God is working? You know, watching these places and these small subtle shifts, like the whole thing that makes this happen is God says to Lydia, God opens Lydia's heart and says, listen to this Paul guy. Like, it's really important that you listen to this Paul guy. And that gives Paul a place to begin preaching, which gives Paul the encounter with the woman, which gives this possessed woman freedom and kicks off this whole thing, which establishes the church, which saves all the prisoners in the church and because all the prisoners are converted. Then he takes him home and his household is converted. So the church gets this big influx of people. And again, the prisoner, all the prophecies that are happening, the prisoners are released, the slaves are set free. All the things that Jesus was saying, this is what I've come to do, they're doing, and it's all happening in this incredibly pagan context, and it's all just God moving in these little subtle moments that push all these things down. And I think for our walk and our life, that it's, we want trumpets, we want skies to open, we want billboards and rock concert, but it's really these subtle movements of the places that God, can I share a little bit of your story? Yeah, I mean, just the fact that as your son had to deal with his dad's death, and he had that time, and that he's a Marine Corps officer. They don't have time. They don't have time. They have less time than anybody on the planet. And the fact that there was this little space made for him to go tend his father's last moments and kind of walk him to the door out of this world, and then to find in that home another Marine. Another.
Was a Marine.
Yeah, and I mean, those are the things to me, those are the moments where, God is speaking to Lydia's heart, and to listen to Paul. It's like those are the moments that we need to really hold on to in our walk.
What was the connection between our two sons?
You're right.
I wasn't going to go all the way down the road, but that was just.
One thing after another, it's like.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
We have these conversations all the time.
Oh, okay, yeah.
We're like, how does this even
Yeah.
Had I been there,
Yeah.
I wasn't supposed to be there.
Right.
I would have been in the way.
Yeah.
And so, because I wasn't there.
Yeah.
It happened just
Right.
the way, and it's like,
Right.
when you start to pay attention, like you say, there's small little things that are huge.
Right.
Miracles are everywhere.
Everywhere.
Exactly.
And you start to pay
They
attention.
are everywhere. This is the whole thing, is that they are
But
everywhere.
It's recognizing that they're small miracles.
Yeah.
Exactly.
There's a movie called Miracles Are Everywhere. If you've never seen it, it's Jennifer Garner's in it. It's a true
Yeah,
story.
yeah,
Mhm.
I had her watching it, and it's literally about this woman who, it's a family in Texas, and their daughter has this incurable intestinal disease, and she's gonna die, and she just jumps on a plane, and she brings her to Boston. And at the end, when the little girl ends up surviving, she ends up going back to Texas, she falls down a tree, she hits her head in just the right spot, and it cures her of everything. And it's a
Yeah.
true story.
Yeah.
And she says how she went to
I-
heaven.
Yeah.
And she saw.
Yeah, I know the story now. Yeah.
But at the end, when she's talking about the miracles that are everywhere, it's the woman that they met that showed them Boston.
Exactly.
It's the when they went to my airline tickets and all of the credit cards were failing, and the man at the counter was like, "Oh, my systems are down. I'll just get you paper tickets."
Yeah.
And he's like, it's like all these little miracles just happen
Yeah.
along the way.
Exactly.
And people,
Exactly.
like
Yeah,
that's how
the
God
people
works.
are
Exactly.
miracles.
Right.
Yeah, yes.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
he aligns, like just like this,
Yeah.
he aligns people
Yeah.
everywhere. So, but it's just recognizing
Exactly.
that these are small miracles that God has put in your path, to.
And they turn out not to be that small.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's the thing, their implications are huge, and
Yeah.
that's exactly right. And so,
But it's just recognizing.
and yeah, exactly. And so that's my, we can see God's operation in this text because it's kind of written for us to see God's operation in this text. But we can see God's operation in the text of our own lives if we'll have some eyes to see it. And I honestly believe that's our job. That's really our job right now in this world that is kind of crushing in on itself, that has all of these huge pagan movements all around us. Like that's our job, is to be attentive to the Spirit and to see where it's moving, and to let them, to let the miracles happen, because they really are everywhere. Like that's so. So I think that's.
And paying attention, I think, to our own demons that get churned up, and it's like, hold on, I'm not going to react in this way.
Oh yeah. I mean, the life of the life of the church is the life of repentance.
Yeah.
It is. I mean, it's always just, and all repentance means is turning around. It means turning. It's not like it means turning to think in a new way, to say where our animalism, our desire, our deep desires, cultural desires are, would lead us to kind of a worldly place. We have to lead us to a heavenly place.
Just turning away from the urge to gossip. Like,
Oh.
you know what I'm saying? Like, just something, we talked about just,
Dante says the lowest plane of hell is reserved for the gossipers.
so.
The lowest
just-
plane of hell.
we-
Below the child
Well, everybody
molesters,
on
below
social media is
everybody
all going
else.
to hell. Social media is going to hell. They're all going
It
to hell.
absolutely is. That's right.
So-
Like it's a facilitator. Yeah.
We were just talking yesterday about like how I was so just like trapped in negativity for like 4 years of my life on Facebook with all like the political stuff that was happening. And now if there's any of my friends that have any political posts, I don't unfriend, I just unfollow. I just don't want to see it. I don't want
Yeah.
that in my
Right.
feed. I don't
Right.
want the temptation to fight with somebody on Facebook or to put my opinion there, because my opinion is like an asshole. Everyone has one.
And that's what it
You
is.
know what
Yeah.
I mean? Like we
Yeah.
all have one.
Yeah. And it's,
So I
yeah,
don't,
exactly.
my opinion does not matter.
It's right.
So
It's
I
not
have
gonna help.
It's not gonna help. It's just gonna aggravate me. I'm just gonna
Exactly.
So I just unfollow any of those things that are gonna trigger that response from me, and that is how. And I know nothing that's going on, and I freaking love it.
I've been hiding people like crazy.
Yeah, I love it.
Like I have, like hide. You'll come back in 30 days and I'll see you, and like maybe we can talk then. But like, yeah, I've been hiding people like crazy.
I'm